Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. This is Rabbi Simon, and we are at this time, we are at a Jewish Passover, which is calculated on a lunar basis, which started on the 22nd of April. I think today is going to be the 6th day of the Passover on the Sabbath. Now, I wanted to just brief you up on a few situations that are happening. I gave you some illustrations last week of what's going on in the Middle East, and I asked a question: would you like to know more, or are you happy where you are? And nobody really answered, so I guess we'll leave that. We won't go too in depth into that, as nobody showed nobody really showed an interest in that, even though you should be interested, especially people living in Europe. You should be very interested, because it's affecting you like anything, although it's affecting the whole world, but Europeans are affected much more. The reason for that is the Europeans are dependent on gas from the east, and they're dependent on the oil from the east. So if there is a war raging on both sides, on the east side, that affects your gas transmission, and that affects your oil transmission, petrol, then imagine everything in this world moves. Our transportation right now moves because of the oil and the gas. Okay, so if, let's say, if your petrol prices go up, and I'll use the word petrol rather than gas, because Americans call petrol gas, and the Europeans call gas the liquid substance, natural gas, so it's different. I don't want to confuse people, so I'll use the word petrol, which is universally understood around the world. So if your petrol is expensive per liter, and you have to put that in your lorries, into your planes, into your trains, transportation, and then on top of that, we're so used to in this world, like the plastic bottles that milk is put into, and also the other bottles that are made from plastic. You may or may not know that they are also made from petrol, crude oil products. They are the derivative of crude oil. So, if you are interested in it or not, it's affecting your everyday life, your day-to-day living. So, I think it's in some ways important to know what's going on. And of course, what about the restoration of Israel? What about the 12 tribes? What about the third temple? What about all of that? Is that not relevant? Of course it's relevant. And unless we keep tabs on it, we're going to lose ourselves. And sure, I'm not saying that you need to be obsessed about it when the Messiah is going to come. And I'm not telling you that we have to argue today who is the Messiah, because Christians, if you ask them, they'll say Jesus is a Messiah. And Muslims may agree as well that Jesus is a Messiah, but then they may have issue with Jesus being God and Jesus being the mankind for salvation, etc. Similarly, Jews will have issue with Jesus being the Messiah, and maybe also the issue of a person redeeming your sins or covering your sins through his blood sacrifice. As you know, human sacrifice in the Bible is prohibited. In the Torah law states human sacrifice is prohibited. So how would we understand the sacrifice aspect? Again, I don't really want to hone in on those aspects, because they are not my essay and my teaching over here. I want you to understand that why are we here? What's going on around the world right now? There's still a war between Ukraine and Russia, and Middle East still on for war. I told you that Israel as a nation, or as the leaders that are in Israel, present leaders, have made many mistakes, And now you're beginning to see the result of that. And I'll just leave it at that. I won't say any more. The other thing is this, that because it's the Passover week for majority, of the Jewish, I guess the Jewish Ashkenazi world, Ashkenazi Jews and even Christians who follow them blindly and ignorantly, because I'm not talking about the Passover as such. I'm talking about the who are the real Israelites. And who the real Israelites are is a subject matter that is not discussed. And those Israelites are not, in a majority, they're not present in the land of Israel. They're outside the land of Israel, and they're scattered all over the world. You find many of them in Europe, many of them in America, and many of them in the East. They're all over the place. And that's what God had said. I will spread you to the four winds of heaven, and then I will gather you. So in order to God to do the gathering, if God has done the scattering, then He's got to do the gathering as well. He can't do one and the other. God is truthful. God never lies to us. We have to understand that point. I wanted to bring you to Abraham, our father. And I think it's important that I bring you to Abraham, and I bring you to a point in history, chapter 18, and maybe chapter 19 as well, when God appeared. It says God appeared to Abraham as he was by the terebinth trees. And it says he lifted his voice and looked, and behold, 3 men standing by him. And these are disputed, these things are disputed over here. And I do speak from the Hidden Truths Hebraic Scrolls. Then Yahoshua appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, as he was sitting by the tent door in the heat of the day. Now, here God came to Abraham. Do I have a problem with it? No. Can God become a man? Yes. But not in that can God become a man permanently, but can God appear as a man? The answer is yes. God can do whatever He wants to. God is God. It's God's prerogative to do whatever He wants to. Can God make a donkey speak? Yes. He did. Bilam's donkey spoke. So, these arguments about can God do this and can God do that are foolish arguments. And I don't want to really get into those arguments because they have no grounding. God, in His essence, and we don't understand that essence, is some kind of light, some kind, that light energy, some kind of energy, and a power source that we don't even understand. That's what God is. It's some kind of power source. And that power source is what set our planets in motion. And through that power source is what came out, is us. And He, in each one of us, it doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter if you call yourself Christian, Muslim, Jew, Hindu, whatever you call yourself, Buddhist. In each of us, God put a little essence of His power that generated us, that continues to generate us, that continue to power us, that continue to provide health, life, and functions within us. And it's our science cannot understand it. Let me tell you, science is incapable of understanding that mechanism. It cannot understand it. God is absolutely great. God is absolutely not understandable. There was a human, there was a Muslim scholar. I think his name was Al-Kindi maybe, and he wrote, many Muslim texts in the Arabic side, in the Arabic era, in the as what do they call it? Middle era, through the Muslim period. Al-Kindi, and there were others as well, scholars, and they said God is unknowable. And I do recall, I may have maybe commented negatively at the past, but I wish to apologize to that I have much better understanding now than I did back then, that he was right. God is unknowable. We cannot know God. We just don't know God enough. Yes, we try to have a relationship with God, but for us as human beings, it's very hard for us to have a relationship with a being that is, pure light, pure energy. On an energetic level, maybe we have, something common between us. So God experiences the world through us. And so what we see in Genesis chapter 18 and 19 is God coming to Abraham and reminding him of the covenant that he formed with him. And Abraham had just got circumcised on this Passover. And, he was about to again tell him that Isaac's going to be born. I think Abraham was around 99 and Isaac was born around 100. And Sarah kind of laughed, not a sarcastic laughter, but just a laughter like, is it even possible that I can have a son at my age? Considering Sarah was almost 90 years of age. And if today, if I said to you that a 90-year-old woman is going to give birth, you laugh at me. You say, you must be crazy. How can a 90-year-old woman give birth? And I tell you, God made it happen. And it is possible. Even a 90-year-old, even today, can give birth to a baby. Even with the present technologies that we have, they can do that if they wanted to. But my point is this, that God did this at the time. It was what you might call, they lived somewhat primitively, not completely primitively. I mean, they lived in houses. They had solid houses. They had tents. They had, different types of houses, different types of amenities. They had animals like we do today, agriculture. They had agriculture as well. But one of the things that really interested me is in verse 16 it says, then the men rose from there and gazed towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham went with to send them on the way. And here it says that God had come down, sent his angels down to do what's called judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah for the violations of Torah. Unfortunately, Christianity runs away with it and just puts one violation on the people, but that wasn't the only violation. The bigger violation that was occurring to humanity in these cities was injustice, was being committed against them. And God wanted to punish that. That is absolutely something that we need to understand. God will not allow injustice to continue in any place in the world. Sooner or later He will step in some way, form and shape, and He will judge that nation. I'm telling you, even in 2024 it will happen. If a nation continues to violate the laws of the Torah, the laws that God has penned, and continue to violate them, and if you don't believe me, look at Israel. It continued to violate humanity's laws, or the laws of the Torah. It continued to violate them, thinking that they were above the law, and look how God stepped in. There are generals, then there are the Mossad chief. They're all resigning over there. That has never happened in the history of Israel. Israel got the defeat of its lifetime from the Palestinian, people. It wouldn't even think about such a defeat. And let me tell you something else, that if you don't know, Congress just passed a bill, and I'm not exactly sure of the figures. I mean, you could probably check what the figures are, but Israel was given a handout, what they call monies was given to Ukraine. I think Ukraine was given, I don't know, 62 billion or something, and Israel was given also a hand, what's called foreign aid. And I believe Israel's foreign aid, I see it here, it says that Israel has been the largest cumulative recipient of U.S. foreign aid since its founding, receiving about $300 billion adjusted for inflation in total economic and military assistance. By the way, this is April 11, 2024. So, I know it wasn't 300 billion right now, but Israel was given something like 26, 27, somewhere around there, $1 billion as aid. But Israel's been given aid in the past. Weapons have been sent, bombs have been sent. When you're going to use those bombs to kill children, women, men who are not fighters, men who are not aggressive, women who are not in aggression to you, children who are not in aggression to you, what do you think God's going to do? Sit there and just watch? It's okay? Let them be dead? Let them be killed? I don't think so. I think God will act. I told you that in Sodom and Gomorrah, God acted. And if you think that America is doing the right thing, do you think that God will not act? I pray that God will have mercy on the United States of America for the mistakes that it is making, not just in Israel, for the mistakes it's making in Ukraine and for the other mistakes it's making elsewhere. But I'll tell you one thing, I won't stay silent in my spirit and allow these things to just continue, because I will also do something. And I told you before that the leadership of Israel is going to change. Yes. The present leaders of Israel will go. There will be no more. And if anything, I will have a hand in that. Whether that is through prayer or some other means, I will have a hand in that. And if America continues in this violation of Torah law as well, then I can tell you certainly that America is going to be turning around. And I will have that too. Because I will petition to God to remove the leaders that are present in America that are doing this, and to bring in leaders that are righteous, that will do the right thing. Because American people deserve better. We deserve better in this world. We don't deserve leaders that lie to us, they cheat us, and they continue to do violations against God, whether it's ignorantly, whether it's deliberately. I think it is not a good thing. I will continue to pray on that matter. And for you, all of you, my students, who at this point maybe are in different stages of your life, you are struggling in different stages of your life, or you're kind of going through different challenges in your life, I will continue to lift you up. And I do. I lift you up every day. That God blesses you. God removes the challenges from you. God enhances your life. God brings in more blessings, peace, joy, happiness into your lives. So God coming to Abraham, what was that? It was a sign that God was establishing a strong relationship with Abraham and his children to come. That God was concerned about the future of the world. Yet God was going to judge a small portion of the people in Sodom and Gomorrah. But you know what God did? God, in Genesis 19 it says that, Lot was removed, Abraham's nephew was removed from Sodom and Gomorrah, and it talks about that God sent. Here's the interesting part that I always found very interesting, and I want to speak about it a little bit. It says it happened. Let me see. Yeah, verse 29 in chapter 19, verse 29. And it came to pass when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim favored Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. But before that, let me just read something else to you. Let's see. There was a verse here that is very interesting. Here it is. Verse 24, chapter 19. I'll use the name Hashem here. Then Hashem rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Hashem out of the Shemaim. Isn't that amazing? There are two Hashems, two gods. And when I say two gods, I don't mean there are two gods, but I mean that there are two instances of the same God. One standing on the earth and one is up there. That's why I said that God is unknowable. We can't understand how God functions. So God is energy. So what did he have? A human being here, standing, watching this destruction and calling for it. And when he says from God out of heaven, let's read it in the English. Then God rained brimstone and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from God out of the heavens, right? That's how it kind of reads in the regular English Bibles. So does that mean that there are two gods? No. There is one God, but he appeared in two places. Where? He was one place in heaven and one place on the earth. Now, remember in my last lecture I told you that above space is water, below earth is water. We are between waters. We have an oxygenated planet. There is a place in Alaska, this coldest place on the earth, Antarctica. There's a place in Antarctica where Americans started to dig or drill, and they get what's called blue ice over there. And this blue ice is actually oxygen that has become ice, trapped in ice and frozen. And when you burn it, it doesn't melt into water, it just disappears. And it is so thick that when America started this project in the 50s, they never completed it. I think they ditched it after 10, 11 years because they were not getting any further. They continued to drill and it just continued to be more and more. Listen, this ideology, one time I read in the Muslim holy book, the Quran, that the earth is flat, and I kind of laughed at it. But again, I'm sorry that I laughed because I shouldn't have. It was my ignorance. And I followed this scientific knowledge of the earth is round, and that is absolutely not true. Earth is not round. The earth is actually flat. Because when we go from one place to the next, we are not traveling, because we are so brainwashed by science into believing all science when science lies to us, misrepresents information. You can go on these social websites today and type in is the earth flat, and you will see many videos, clips from people who are not religious. Earth is flat, and why, they'll explain why. But then it's kind of held from us. Why is truth like that held from us? I don't know why. I'm not sure why science wants to brainwash us. Maybe they have their purposes, but we need to be more mentally matured. Now, you might say, well, what difference does it make? Earth is flat or round? No, I agree with you. It makes no difference. Is earth or flat or round? It doesn't make no difference. I don't need to use Bible verses to prove one way or the other. I think that all religious books have this knowledge that you can prove it one way or the other. But I think sometimes we go too far with the religious texts, and we try to stretch them to our agenda, and I don't want to do that. Oh yeah, because God said, the earth is like this, and it's stretched like this. No, not always the case. Sometimes we read the text wrong. So we got to be very careful of how we go about critiquing other people's faith, their intelligence. This is why I don't argue with Christians of whether Jesus is a Messiah or not. There's no need. If somebody holds that dear to his life, if some Christian person out there holds dear to his life that Jesus is a Messiah, why should I have a problem with it? I don't have a problem with it. Why should I critique him, and why should I put him down? He is a human being. He is also loved by God. He is also in the image of God. If all of those things are true, who am I to go and critiquing him and calling him names or telling him that you're wrong and I'm right. No, I don't need to do that, because the Torah has compassion. The Torah teaches us compassion for every human being out there. And we need to understand that. I think that's very important. So when Sodom and Gomorrah, when the sulfur was thrown on the cities, maybe in deposits of smaller pieces, and those cities were destroyed and the people kind of moved on, I looked at sulfur. I thought, what is sulfur made of? What is in sulfur? And I was kind of interested to find out that sulfur is an abundant mineral in our human bodies and is found in our living tissues. It's supposed to build and repair our DNA. It protects our cells from damage and metabolizes food. And says sulfur also contributes to our healthy skin, tendons and ligaments. And there is something called DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide. By the way, you can easily get it in America. Let me give you a little remedy. This is a little remedy. If you suffer from arthritic type joint pains, get castor oil. Maybe if you can find cold pressed castor oil, natural one. Then if you can't, then whatever variety you find, castor oil, it's pretty inexpensive. You add DMSO to it. So maybe you take 3 spoons of castor oil, 3 large spoons, and add 3 large spoons of DMSO. It's very cheap. It's only about $10 a bottle. Dimethyl sulfoxide, normally known as DMSO. You can find it in Amazon and all over the place. Mix it thoroughly. Apply it to your joints every day. You will see how it will remove your pains like this. It will start to heal you. It will start to make you well. It's so powerful. Just something as inexpensive as the oil, castor oil, and DMSO is so powerful. I want you to try it and use it. The other thing that you can use, and also, by the way, and I don't want to say this out loud, but I will tell you, not only is sulfur good to fix your DNA and protect your cells from damage that can lead to serious diseases such as cancer. Cancers come from damaged cells. So read between the lines what things sulfur can do for you. Okay? It's extremely beneficial for the skin, and it's extremely beneficial for the earth, because when sulfur goes into the ground, it makes the ground even more fertile. Did you know that? I didn't know that till I read about it. So even when God was judging Sodom and Gomorrah, He left deposits of sulfur there to make the ground even more fertile. And before the ground was fertile, we're told that the valleys was fertile. There were 5 cities very fertile. And Lot and Abraham's cattle and sheep and everything were there, eating from it. But now, after the destruction, and if a regrowth occurred, then imagine how fertile that valley still would be. So God is not just a punishing God. God is a loving God. Even in His punishment, He leaves room for compassion and love. And similarly, I think we need to do the same thing. Being Passover was a time that Israel was given compassion of God, slavery, given freedom. We also need to do similarly. We need to have compassion for the people. Even if I don't agree with somebody, I need to have compassion on that person. In the past, when I lived in the UK, and I had debates with Christians, Jews, Muslims, everybody, I didn't have no compassion on them. I just wanted to show them that they are wrong, in something that they believe in. If Jews believe in something or Christians believe in something, I want to show them wrong, then they are wrong. I stuck on a rut, I have to prove them wrong. I have the information to prove them wrong. But now I realize that was the wrong attitude. There was no compassion there. I don't apologize for for my past mistakes. And I apologize to God that for my past mistakes that I should have had more compassion on people, not just to prove them that they are wrong and I'm right. What's that going to give me? 2 minutes of joy, and then I might regret later that, maybe, that person is a human being. Why am I putting that person down for his belief system? So no, I've learned not to do that. I've learned not to do that any longer. I've learned compassion. I've learned that through compassion and love, peace dwells. Peace dwells in your home because of compassion and love. If there's no love, there's no peace. Abundance that comes to you comes because of compassion. God makes you abundant because of compassion. Why did God make Abraham abundant? Because he was a compassionate man. Abraham, as part of his makeup, he built tents, and part of his tents, he built some tents for people, strangers who came into the city, and he wanted to give them room to stay, food to eat. They may be different religious groups. They were not Israelites. They were foreigners. Maybe they had different belief systems. They believed in different gods, but Abraham didn't let that come between him and his compassion. Back home in the East, I took a 1,200 square foot piece of land, and I built a room on there, and also a small car park and a little garden, and I gave it to a friend of mine. It's right next to my house. My house is around about 1,200 square foot, and this other place is 1,200 square foot as well. So I gave this 1,200 square foot place to my friend, and I said, here is a place. I spent money on it, good money. We're talking about 30, 40,000, 50, maybe more than that to purchase it and to develop it. 50, 60,000, more than $50,000-$60,000. Okay, I built it. And I gave it to my friend, and I said, this is the key, and you look after it. And any policeman come over there from out of city, in that city. They come out of city, like from villages, from far away. And I said, any of these guys that come in to do their job, police officers, policemen of any type, I said, if they want to stay here, then you give them the place to stay. And you want to feed them, they'll just knock on the next door. My wife is there, and whether you do it, whether she does it, you feed them the meal. This is my service to the community, because these policemen are coming over here to do their duty. Their duty is to look after the people. And I remember what my father Abraham did. He didn't look at people's belief systems and said, oh, I'm not going to help you because you don't believe, you're a Catholic and you don't believe in my faith. He didn't do that. So I decided that I'm going to do that, same as my father Abraham. And I did. And my place is today used. I tell you, policemen come over there on their bikes, on their cars, on their jeeps, on their four-wheel drives. They come over there. And people know, right, that this person here, who is this person over here that has all these policemen coming to his home? And police come and go over here like they're not. And the irony is this, right, that I don't even know majority of them who they are. I know some of them. I have relation with some of them. I have a relationship with the chief of police in the city. I knew him. I kind of met him and said, hello, hi, how you doing and all that. But I don't know majority of them who come into the city. But anyway, that place is there for them. So compassion, I want to teach you compassion, love. And if somebody is against you, if somebody is against your faith, and maybe not against your faith, maybe somebody's against your faith, maybe they're against you as a person, show compassion to them. Compassion will bring peace and joy. Compassion and love, they will bring in abundance into your life. I ask you to do this. I ask you every day, feed the birds. Every day feed the birds. Don't just throw away scraps at them. Don't do that. Go and get proper bird food, seeds, and feed them. You will see how much benefit you get out of that. And if you see stray animals, feed them. Don't kick them and say, get lost. If you see a stray animal, try to feed that stray animal. You will get benefit and blessing out of it, because an animal, especially birds, they don't know how to thank you. They don't have mouth to speak and say, please feed us, we are hungry. But if you had compassion, listen, compassion. If you had compassion and out of your compassion you fed them, God is going to bless you tremendously. Tremendous blessings are going to come your way. Believe me when I tell you this. Passionate. Be compassionate to people who are rude to you. Be compassionate to people who are, for whatever reason, don't like you. Just be compassionate. Be compassionate to birds. Be compassionate to the animals, because it's God's creation. We have dominion over them, and we need to do the right thing. So I implore you to, as my students, I want you to be known for that, for your compassion. So having said that, God built a relationship with Abraham. Abraham was in the business of water. He dug wells. And he, of course, controlled waterways. And, of course, he dug a well. He would have said, hey, I'm going to allot this well to this village and this one to this. And, people free. No. Abraham may have charged some kind of tribute from these people, from their leaders. And I don't know what that tribute was, because we're not told. But there would have been some kind of tribute. And the tribute also means that Abraham didn't get animals out of nothing. Abraham built his empire out of that tribute, out of that money he received. So, let's be sensible and understand how Abraham became rich and wealthy through these, just water. Something as simple as water. Digging wells and allotting them. And that's why they said, that's why the people as the Hittites, that's why I said, you're a prince among us. You're a leader among us. He was known as a leader. Would you want to be known as a leader? Do you want people to remember you as a leader? Or do you want to be known as a Scrooge? Think about it. How would you like to be known? Act on it. Be a leader. Don't be a Scrooge. Be compassionate to people. Compassion will take you long ways. Long ways. Be circumspect to Torah laws. God will bless you for that tremendously. I've been blessed tremendously because of Torah. I've been blessed tremendously. Sure, I've faced challenges, but I've been blessed tremendously. I want to thank God for that. And I want to teach you to be compassionate. And also, the tools I give you, I tell you to use those tools every day. Sit down and, use your imagination, because your imagination is very powerful. Through your imagination, you can produce great results in your life. I gave you the exercise for the $6 million at night. When you go to sleep, to count money. Maybe you count $100,000 and you fall asleep. And maybe you look at the 6 million in your account, in your mobile app, and it's there, you see it, the 6 million, and you're spending it. You're buying your nice car, you're buying your telephone, maybe you're buying a house, maybe you're buying more than one house, maybe you're buying 10 houses, 9 you're going to rent, 1 you're going to keep yourself, and maybe you're going on your vacation. I want you to do that. These are exercises that will help you. And I taught you about robotic affirmations. Robotic affirmations are very powerful. This is why we read the Psalms every day, because it's like robotically reading them. Why? Because they affect us spiritually. So I want you to take an affirmation Something simple. What is the simplest affirmation that you can take that will benefit you? And I gave you one last week. I said, how about that you write a little list of items? Well, you might write, I have a job of such and such value. I have a 6-figure income. I have a 100,000 plus job. I have, a certain car. I have certain 3-bedroom maybe house, 4-bedroom house, etc. I have, a truck or whatever. I have a certain amount of money in the bank, etc. You make a list. And you make that list one time. And maybe you make changes in it. Maybe you make changes every 3 or 4 days. That's okay. You just rewrite the list again if you make changes. Just scratch the previous list, make a new one with the same old items but with changes. And that's great as well. That helps you. And now I want you to just say one command. 15 minutes times 3 or 20 minutes times 3, for 1 hour. 20 minutes times 3 every day religiously. I have everything on my list. I have everything on my list. I have everything on my list. See, your list may be static and maybe it continues to change. But even if it's changing, it's okay. That one command, I have everything on my list, and maybe that list also contains that you're in perfect health, that you have abundance, that you have beautiful finances, that you're meeting all challenges. Whatever you want to put on that list, whatever the current problem you're facing, the opposite of that, the result that you desire. If you're unemployed, what do you want? A job with certain salary, right? Put it on your list. If you're ill, what do you want? Health, certain type of health. Put it on the list. If you're homeless, what do you want? A home. Put it on the list. If you have no car, you're carless. What do you want? A car. Put it on the list. Put it on the list. And then start to robotically speak about that list. I have everything on my list. I have everything on my list. I have everything on my list. Listen to this message. And you may even want to record that. Just one affirmation. Record it with your voice. I have everything on my list on your phone. And just repeatedly listen to it. Repeatedly listen to it, okay? And you're going to get all your desires. One day you will thank me for it. I've given you such a simple formula for success. Number 1, compassion. Remember, Torah law is compassionate law. It's compassion on other beings, other humans, animals, birds, compassion. Start from that. Then when you keep your festivals, when you do your tithes of the car, when you do your annual 7 festivals, or even if you do the 9, and you have that compassion in you, think what kind of person you will be. Think. You will be a great person. And that's where you're heading to. You're heading to greatness. And Baruch Hashem. May God keep you safe and bless you tremendously. I really want you to be blessed. And because it's the Passover week, I want to leave you with this. Yivrecha Hashem v'ishmarecha. Yair Hashem panav lecha v'chunecha. Yisa Hashem panav lecha v'yasim lecha shalom. May God bless you and watch over you. May God shine His face towards you and show you favor. May God be favorably disposed towards you and grant you peace. Shema Israel, Hashem Eloheinu, Hashem Echad. With that, I say, have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. Enjoy yourselves with your families. Until next time, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, Shalom.